A child sits at a kitchen table. Nothing remarkable. A pencil. A sheet of paper. Morning light spills across scratched wood. Outside, a dog barks somewhere down the street. Inside, the child stares at a mathematics problem that millions of students have struggled with before. Then something almost invisible happens. Not a flash of genius. Not a dramatic breakthrough. Just a slightly faster connection. A pattern recognized a fraction of a second earlier. A relationship between numbers perceived with slightly less effort. The pencil moves. The answer appears. And within that tiny moment lies one of the strangest questions humanity can ask itself. What if every human mind worked that way? Not twice as intelligent. Not superhuman. Just 10% smarter. A small adjustment. A barely noticeable shift. Most people assume that could not change very much. History suggests otherwise. Most people think intelligence is a scale. More intelligence means solving harder problems, remembering more facts, and making fewer mistakes. But human history suggests something far stranger. Small cognitive advantages have never produced small consequences. A slightly sharper memory, a slightly better ability to predict, a slightly greater capacity for abstraction. Those differences do not merely improve a species. They reshape reality around it. The distance between the first stone tool and a spacecraft was not built from giant leaps. It was built from countless small improvements accumulating across generations, which raises an uncomfortable possibility. Perhaps 10% more intelligence would not simply create better humans. Perhaps it would create a fundamentally different civilization. The human brain already exists at a strange edge. It consumes enormous energy. It is fragile, and yet it performs feats that machines still struggle to replicate. Recognizing faces, reading emotions, inferring intentions. Every moment, the brain constructs a usable reality from an overwhelming flood of information. Most of that information never reaches consciousness. The texture of distant sounds, the subtle shifts in light, the countless details hidden inside every second. The brain survives by filtering reality, not because it is weak, because it must be. Without those limitations, consciousness might drown in information. And yet a 10% increase in intelligence raises an unsettling question. What else might become visible? Imagine walking into a crowded room. Today, you notice a few expressions, a few gestures, a few social cues, enough to navigate the situation. Now imagine extracting 10% more meaning from every glance and every pause. The room changes. Patterns emerge where others see randomness. Motives become easier to infer. Conversations acquire additional layers. But greater perception comes with a cost. Researchers have often noticed that highly intelligent individuals are not necessarily happier. Sometimes they become more aware of contradictions, more aware of uncertainty, more aware of consequences. A sharper mind often sees problems long before solutions arrive. The same gift that illuminates reality can make reality harder to bear. Many people imagine a smarter humanity creating a utopia. History offers little support for that idea. Intelligence does not erase human nature. It amplifies it. The same species that split the atom also learned how to weaponize it. The same minds capable of curing disease remain vulnerable to fear, tribalism, and conflict. A 10% increase in intelligence could revolutionize medicine, energy, and science. But it could also create more sophisticated manipulation, more efficient propaganda, more powerful systems of control. Human beings would not stop competing. They would simply become better at it. Consider a single lifetime. Most people spend decades learning how the world works. Patterns emerge slowly. Wisdom arrives late. Now imagine minds capable of reaching those insights noticeably faster. Not instantly, just enough to compress years of learning. A teenager reasoning like today's experts. Entire generations reaching intellectual maturity earlier. The consequences would ripple through governments, economies, education, and culture. Civilization depends on the assumption that human understanding develops gradually. A smarter species might evolve faster than its institutions can adapt, and institutions are always slower than minds. Yet the deepest change might occur somewhere entirely unexpected, inside consciousness itself. Scientists still cannot fully explain why awareness exists, why neural activity becomes experience, why information feels like something from the inside. No one knows. But if intelligence increased, even slightly, consciousness itself might change. Human history offers a clue. Language transformed thought. Writing transformed memory. Civilization transformed identity. Every cognitive expansion altered the way reality was experienced. A smarter brain might not merely think better. It might experience existence differently. And this is where the question becomes truly unsettling. Because intelligence is not just a tool. It is a lens. Every increase changes what can be seen. Imagine explaining calculus to a squirrel. The gap is not knowledge. It is perspective. Entire concepts exist beyond the animal's cognitive horizon. Not hidden, simply inaccessible. Now reverse the question. What concepts exist beyond ours? What patterns surround us right now that the human brain cannot perceive? What truths remain invisible simply because evolution never required us to see them? A 10% increase in intelligence might reveal answers, but it would also reveal new mysteries. Every horizon reached creates another horizon beyond it. Knowledge does not end uncertainty. It expands it. The child at the kitchen table finishes the problem. The pencil stops moving. Outside, the world continues exactly as before. Cars pass. Birds cross the sky. Morning becomes afternoon. Nothing appears different. And yet civilization itself may have emerged from moments just like this. Tiny cognitive advantages. Small shifts in perception. Microscopic improvements. Accumulating across generations until one day a species finds itself standing on the moon and decoding the language of life itself. 10% sounds insignificant. A rounding error. A minor adjustment. But evolution has never been transformed by dramatic differences alone. Sometimes entire worlds emerge from margins. And if humanity ever became 10% smarter, the greatest change might not be the technologies we build or the mysteries we solve. It might be the realization that intelligence was never the destination, only a doorway. Because beyond every increase in understanding waits the same unsettling truth. The universe does not become smaller when we comprehend it. It becomes larger. And the more clearly a mind can see, the further it notices the horizon retreating into darkness.